image. So in the last session, we created one custom Docker image and we saw how we can run the container out of it, right? But like I explained, this was a very simple image. It does not have a lot of functionality. All we did was we just copied some set of HTML files into HTTPD image, and then we made it as our own custom image. But imagine that you have some different approach. Like let's say it's not just copy. You're trying to install something. You're trying to build something. In that particular scenario, how we can run it. So we'll take an example. How you do that without Docker, and then we are going to use Docker on top of it, and then we will Dockerize our application. So earlier it was simple HTML app. Today we'll take some Node.js application. I'll show you how Node.js application normally works and how we are going to do that without any Docker. Right? So for that, what I'll do is I'll take some simple machine first. Okay. Okay, I have some, or if not, I'll launch a new server, no problem, right? Okay. Let's say we'll go with the scratch approach. So this is our Docker host. And this one, we want to do it without installing anything like a typical application. Typical application, now I'm launching a new one. This one, we're going to call it as my Node.js app. Okay, this server is meant to only run Node.js applications. This one, I'll just add all security OS. Right. And I'll also show you how to use the official documentation. Why? Because generally you'll take some official documentation from the website vendors, then you'll start doing the work. So here, Dockerize Node.js app. You see, you got it from the official site. Right? Okay. So now, in case you did not remember, guys, I hope you remember our build sessions. I did the comparison. You have the pom.xml for Java applications. Same thing, we call it as package.json. You'll have the source code there, source code here. You will have the target directory, you will have build like that, right? Same thing we are going to work today. Something like in the build section we saw. You see. This is what we wanted. In the last session, we saw how to get a HTML application into Docker container. Today, we are trying to do the same thing with respect to some Node.js application. So first we need the application, right? Meaning application code will be there. Then we will build a Docker image for that application. Then at the last, we will initiate a container from that image to check whether it is functioning or not. This you already know. Right? That's the purpose of Docker. So you want to, keep everything that is required for the application in a box, and you throw that box any way you want in any specific platform, it should run. That's what basically the concept of container is. All the definitions which we already discussed. Right? It says container is nothing but an application running in a stripped to basic version of Linux operating system. I said it was very tiny, right? And it says an image is the blueprint for the container. So the container is the running instance of your image. Now it says we want to create the Node.js app. Now the first thing, and it says create a new directory where all these files are going to preserve. So first what I'll do is I'll connect to this Node.js app server. Right. Okay. Now, in this, we are pretty sure. Right. There are no components, things related to Node.js. Why? Because so first it said create a directory. Okay, we'll create some directory first. It's empty. They said create a file called package.json. And you know, right, this is like name, version, description, so metadata of the project. Right. And then it says with this package, you need to run the command called npm install. We also saw if it has any dependencies. So in order to meet those dependencies, we need this package.json file. We'll go with it. Fine. Then they have created a file for us. It's like your Java code. This code, it's just saying some simple hello world, and it is running on some port called 8080. So I'll create this file also. I'll take this entire application code. Just some sample app code. So we got this package file and we got this server.js file. Then in the next step, they are saying to create the Docker file. So before creating Docker file, what I'll do is I'll check whether how the app works in the first place. So when I'm saying how the app works in the first place, I need to start my application. I'll show you those steps. Then we will start preparing the Docker file. Why? Because you already know what is a Docker file, what is its purpose. They're showing you the steps, but you need to do the same thing after you know how it works manually. Here, first thing, what in order to run this application, right, you will run the following command. Command not found. Why? Because you did not install it. And npm, it requires node. So you don't have node nor npm. Both are missing. Now what I'll do here is I went to their official site, installing the Node.js via package manager. Then you see you got all the list of operating systems down there, and this is our current platform. You see there is something called like GitHub distributions. This is where our operating systems are there. All the versions are given. We are interested in this LTS version. I'm going with non-root privilege. I'll copy this command. Right. It says you can run the following command to install Node.js and npm. Right. Node.js has been installed. Now we can verify. Now I need to run the app. I already said what I need to say npm. It's straight away given as error. directly says cannot find the module called as express, and it says your things got failed. Reason why it has given us this error is dependencies are missing. In order to match this dependency, the command uses what? This will fetch all the dependencies. Then you can start running your app. Now it says your app is running on port 8080. Now, it's just having hello world. That's the reason why it's just displaying that particular message. But these are the steps that are required to run a what do you say, Node.js app. Now, these all steps we need to take into consideration. Then we need to start preparing the Docker file. Meaning what? Next time onwards, I don't want to install this npm node.js, run this npm install command, start command. All this should be coming directly from the Docker file itself. So for that, we need a customized Docker image. And how we are going to do that? Now let's see. Now you know the manual process. I already said Dockerizing an application is nothing but whatever the manual steps you have, you need to keep it in the Dockerized format. Right? Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get back to my Docker machine. As of now, that's the only custom image we have with us. Now we need the code to build it. We have the code here, but we don't have the code here, right? So just like it's only 2 files, right? I'll just like go and start creating the code once again, no problem. I'll say make directory. You can use git clone command, but it was not there in Git. That's the reason why we are manually creating. If you had it in Git, you can simply say git clone and start working with it. SCP you can use. Copy command we can't use. Why? Because this is in some other server. This is in some other server. Again, I need to import the key and do all that. Instead, it only 2 files. We can simply create those files. Now, in this server, we don't have anything. There is no node, npm, nothing. But we don't want to install as well. We want everything to be coming from the Docker. So for this, what? As expected, we are going to prepare the Docker file. Now, first thing I need to look what? I need to avoid these installations. I don't want node to be installed, npm and all this. So simply, I think here I already logged in. No need of login also. Why? Because you already saw in the last session, right? I just showed you how to log in and do that work. Simply, I'll just show it here. I'm looking for nodes. Now you see there is already official image which is available for you. So we got some question. Yes, key is required, Gopi. So whenever you want to do SCP, key is mandatory. Without key, you can't do SCP. Right? SCP-I, you need to give the key, definitely. Right. Now you see, I'm going with this Node.js part. Now the first thing, we need the base operating system, and on top of it, Node should be there. Instead of doing all that, what? I'll simply go with the image called Node. Use base image. From is the instruction. From where you want to get it? Right? So I want to use the image called Node, which already has Node.js installed and it is kept ready. Once the node is ready, then on top of it, we need some piece of code. Which code? First file is package.json, correct? Like you guys copied, what do you say? All the HTML dot to users share some HTTPD location was there, right? Same way, I don't have any document route for this. Why? Because Node.js is different from HTTPD. So it's your choice. In the last session, what happened? You went into some location called user local Apache to htdocs, right? That was defined in HTTPD. No, you want to set your own directory? Yes, you can. No problem. Let's set it. My app directory. For that, I'm going to use something called like and you can run any commands case. Okay, even I'll do that part also. My app directory. Run typical Linux command that you want. Your choice. You want to keep it my app. This is the directory that should be created where in the Node.js base image, which container will be launched. In that, this directory will be created. In the last session, I showed you, it is creating some temporary containers. On top of it, every time it is going and doing the work. Once this directory is created, in the future, any command I want to run, it should be running from the following path. For that, we use work.dir. Work.dir, which basically is like CD, you can say. So now you will be in the directory called /myapp. Once you're inside the directory, then you want to run the commands. Copy. We know package.json is in the current location, right? So this file from here will be taken and will be updated in, sorry, /myapp. So now this file will be updated here. Once you get this file, what we are going to have the dependencies, and also we need the code also, right? So first let's install the dependencies like how I did npm install. Then I'm going to copy all the remaining code. Then we will go with the npm start command, right? Okay, let's see. There's the same thing they have defined here. Which port you want to open so that your app can work. You see, They kept some location, but we kept our own thing. We just simply said my app, your choice. Then what we copied the package.json. Then you see they said why, because dependencies will only be installed after this package.json file is there. So this thing will make sure like all the dependencies are met. Once the dependencies are met, you see what he is doing? Copying all the remaining code. Why? Because when I do this npm install, I said you'll get some intermediate things. Now those intermediate things are whatever is required for your app. It will be updated where? My app. So I'll say dot from the host to dot inside the container. Left side is host, right side is with respect to container. Once this is copied, then we need to make sure port number is also enabled. Like I said, our app is by default listening on port 8080 by because we saw it in the application code actually. I hope you got the point here. VI. Because of this number only, our app is running on port 88. Expose the port called 8080. Once this expose is done, then we need to run our actual command to start the app. CMD. And generally guys, when you go with CMD, you need to pass parameters like this. This is some different example, but we know our part is npm start. Getting the point is, now once we have all this in place, then you can go ahead and start, what do you say, preparing your Docker image, and then you can get started with the things. Now we want to create our own custom Docker image to go with. Docker my username and your image name. Now it starts going through the what you say is Docker image creation patch. Let's see. Okay. Let's keep that out for some time. Now you see is all those steps which we did, everything was smoothly running from the Docker, and a new image is created for you, right? And you can see there is a question saying, is there any similarity between your what do you say, Ansible playbook and Docker custom? No, they're completely different. There's no similarity actually, right? So did you find any similarity? You can let us know. Right? Why? Because Ansible is used for a different purpose and Docker is used for completely different purpose. Hope you got the point. Right? Oh. All right, I hope you got the point. Right? Now we have this image ready. Now let's see if this image is actually working or not by creating it again. And we are pretty sure still no node, no npm. But we have the image with us. Now I'm going to use this image. That's it, right? So I have given everything, port number, my image. Why? Because image has everything. It has dependencies, the app, everything should be up and running. Now let's test if it goes with the port number 8090. So if I check initially without running it, there is nothing running up here. That is running with the port number as anticipated 8090. Now let's check it. What happened? Port number 8090. We assigned 8080 in the port number. But still, even though it is 8080, we are exposing it on a different port, right? So it should not have any issue. So in the Docker file, okay, let me just check once again for my confirmation. We exposed 8080 guys, but we are redirecting the traffic of 8090 to 8080, right? So that's no problem actually. I hope you got the point. Okay, let's see. Docker container logs. We can check the logs and find out if something go wrong. It's running. Right, app is running on 8090, but maybe just a second, guys. We lost power. So the problem is there it's running up, right? Okay. Container port mentioned 8090. Yeah, Shrikant, we are going with the same approach. I think I explained you in the last session, right? So we are not bothered about where the thing is running up. I'm saying on the host, we know container is running on 8080. That is good, no problem. So here we know it works on 8080. But I'm saying from the outside world, when it is coming up, it will come with 8090. That will be traveled to 8080 in the container. That's what we are trying to see. But I'm not sure what's the issue. 8090. Is there anything wrong with the security groups? All traffic is allowed. Where the things went wrong. I guess actually here it is functioning. It says 80. Let me check the command. Okay. Yeah. I'm like, yes, correct. So I have given the opposite part, right? Okay, correct. Yeah. So according to this part, yes, you guys are correct. So here it should be opposite, right? Meaning now it will not work. Why? Because we are saying inside the container look for 8090, but inside the container there is nothing running with 8090. So there the things went wrong here. So let's say Docker container remove forcefully web app 1, 2, 3. Right is whatever is coming from the left side. Now if I say now it looks better. So 8090 traffic is redirected to 8080. Now let's verify. There. Now we are exactly seeing the same thing. Now fine, good. Yes, now we are able to even Dockerize this application. So now can't you Dockerize the Java application? Almost same, right? So only difference is instead of npm command, you'll use mbn commands. Then you'll get and you can start working with the part. I'll also show you, like even when you do the build also, when you get target directory like this, we have a different approach. But according to this particular app right now, yes, our app, whatever the source code was given to us, we Dockerized it and we made it run from the Docker perspective. Looks good. But there is one problem here. Fine, looks fine for me. Look at the image size. That is something that I'm not really happy with. It says almost like 1 gigabyte. That's where you can optimize your Docker images. Same thing as you see here, food site. It says around 150 MB, right? So here, if you guys remember, I said there are different versions of the image. Right? You'll have, what do you say? Tiny images. Like I said, there is something called like, what do you say? Alpine, slim versions of your applications, right? So right now, I'll just go to the old project, like my e-commerce project, and I'll show it from there. For this food site, we wrote the Docker file. See the food site? 150 MB, right? Around 150 MB. I said directly HTTP. Instead, I look after this HTTP image. This is the latest version, but apart from this, there is also other version, which is called Alpine version. Any name you can use. 2 dash alpine alpine. I'm just going with alpine. I'm saying I'll use this HTTP image along with the alpine version of my machine, like sorry, my AMI or Docker image. Now earlier Docker build was pretty heavyweight. I'll do the same build, but this time with a new version. Latest version is 149 MB, right? Version 2. Why? Because I said you can use colon and you can mention whatever the tags you want. My tag is version 2 here. Docker file is in the same location. Now I did the build. Now you got the new image saying that name slash food colon version 2. Very less in comparison to the original size, right? But you check whether the app is running or not. If app runs up, I'm not really bothered about anything else. Same thing. Only difference is my image version got updated and it's very tiny in comparison to the original image. Now let's check if it is running or not. It's not compressed version. They used smaller operating systems. Earlier operating system which we use for that is little bit big. Alpine is much more smaller. The normal image which was latest version. This big. How you can check? HTTP latest is 143 MB. HTTP Alpine is some 50 MB something, right? Yeah. Just a second, please. Okay. Does it affect the performance? Nothing. There is no impact on the performance also, Sai Krishna. Why? Because like I already said, there is nothing to bother about performance. Why? Because there is only one thing that runs there, only your HTTPD part there. So performance is always what is directly proportionate to your server capacity. You have smaller capacity of the server, then your performance will impact. But here there is nothing with respect to the performance parts, right? Okay. Now you see, this gives us the confirmation that our image is very tiny and still we are able to run the app from the same specific way. Then why don't we do the same thing for this? Hope you got the point. Whatever we are trying to get it done from this part, we're exactly trying to do the same thing. What? I'll search for the smaller versions of the Node.js app. Right. Now we got this thing. Now I'll check if there is any version of 16 with respect to Alpine here. You see 16 Alpine, some tag. I'll copy that. I'll go back to my old project, my app. This is what our project was. Now node is almost 1 gigabyte, close to 1 gigabyte. This is a smaller version. I'll check it. I mean, like, yes, you can pull and you can check it explicitly before you run it up. You can do this one also, no problem. You can say Docker pull with node. So before you go ahead and do it, you can check the images also like this. Almost 10 times smaller than, it's close to 1 gigabyte. This is close to 100 megabytes. I'll use this one to check whether app works or not. If it works, I'm really good with the things to go and start functioning. Again, what? I'll check once again, confirmation. Right? Is it in fact going with the proper version of my things? Now I'll start doing the build once again. And it's your choice. Yes, this time you want a new app code. Yes, you can do it. So instead of this one, let me cancel this operation. I'll also change the code also. I want to change the code. Imagine there is some new development happened. Some new code. We need to give the path, right? Yes. Now we can see the new version 2 of my Node app. Hardly 150 MB because the code is very small. There is nothing much to run there. Now I'll just check whether it really runs my app. I'm saying what are the traffic that comes on port number 9999 redirected to 8080 with respect to this new version 2 of the app. In fact, it's working. Now let's verify if it really uses a port. A Docker image was built. It was hardly 100, like 10 times smaller than what our original image was. And I was able to modify the port. Now, can't all these commands run from Jenkins? Of course. Everything is a command line thing, guys. You'll go to the build, and in that execute shell, you can run any Docker command, and you should be able to use Docker to run this, sorry, Jenkins to run these things. Change in the code, automatically build. Yes. That's what you're going to do in the future part in your projects. Right. I hope now you got the proper picture, guys. Why I showed this example? To solely make you get the point that whatever we did from the command line interface in the manual approach, that you can keep it in Docker format and start creating the things. And now with the image, you push it to your Docker Hub whenever you want. In matter of seconds, you'll be able to run your applications. That's the concept of Docker containers, or why we need to Dockerize the images for this same particular purpose. Clear? Yes, I hope everyone got the picture. Now, in the last session, we saw a very simple example, but now this gave you the clarity that, okay, anything that we run from the applications can be Dockerized. Any questions, you can go ahead, guys. Yep, online. So first get the concept. Once you understand the concept, then it is all about you guys sitting and working out how the app works. Then slowly progressively step by step going and making in the Docker format.
Ravi, the same way we can deploy the Tomcat server also, right? Our web application. So we need to do for each step we need to run the command.
You can do it, Srikanth, but you don't need to do all that hard work. So whatever the common things you expect, right? So this will be always there. Like you said, Tomcat. Tomcat is already there, but your app code will not be there in the Docker Hub. You already have Tomcat. What is missing? Var file is missing.
Yes.
Yeah, then you just go through the part. You write the Docker file to get your new var file and copy it in your Tomcat and start. You're good to go.
Okay. So Ravi, is there any restrictions? So all the import, right? The from means base image we are pulling means all the top up only we need to import all the things, or else anywhere we can use.
Not anywhere. Only official are free to use. So people generally, companies will have their own private repositories. Private is only difference is they will have their own names. Like how I have given Ravi to Krishna, they will be having their company names that you can only access with the user credentials, like
No.
private GitHub report.
Ravi, not like that. So for example, I have imported as a base image as a CentOS, okay, for the as a first statement. So after that, I'm importing, I want to import this Tomcat also. So in that time, two from statements I need to use, or else one.
No, you can't go with two from statements. Only one can be used. So you can't use two things. If you are using two things, there is a different approach. That's where there is something called like from one image to another image you need to copy. So indirectly one will be a temporary image. So that example we'll see with an Angular application.
Okay, then got it. Thank you.
Right? Yeah. Right? Yes. Yeah. Any other question is? I hope you got the point. So first I want you to understand like how Docker is being used in the first place. Right? Yes. So there is also one more thing, like I said, right? So from the Angular application, I'll show it in a different approach. We'll see that example tomorrow, how you can take multiple image and get the thing. Right? Yes. Yeah. Oh, no. That is nothing but code end of the day. What we did was we went to some website and we copied the code. Customized, that's it. Right? See, see, that's what I'm trying to say. Based upon the application, you Dockerize. Food site belongs to XYZ company. Node.js belongs to ABC company. Some other code belongs to some other company. Their products, they Dockerize. You need to get the appropriate code, then start preparing the Docker file for individual projects. Then again, you need to do the Docker image. Anytime there is new change in the code, again Docker image should be rebuilt. That's the reason why I said use Jenkins. When change is happening, you can use Jenkins, you rebuild. And you already have the Docker push command to push the image to Docker registry. It will replace it. Right? Hope you got the point. All right? Okay. Fine. Any other questions, guys? Yes, from online. If you're good, then we'll stop it. In the next part, we will see a little bit more complicated way to go ahead with the builds, like multi-build image. We'll see how to go with it. We'll take one temporary thing in between, and then we will again, use it. This is like almost similar to your Java applications that we saw in the last sessions.
Hi, Ravi.
Yeah, go ahead.
So in the JSON file and services file, you created two files, right? JSON file, you created a JSON file for code modification, right?
Correct.
So this code has to be modified by ourselves, or else developer will give the JSON file.
Of course, developers will give it. I did not go with that part. So if I had the code, right, I used to have git clone command.
Okay.
We didn't have, that's the reason why I took the basic example from their side. If they have given you the Node.js code, right, same thing. I'll just pull the code. Then I'll start writing Docker file with the only Docker file. That's the part we need to take care of.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Yes. All right. Okay. Chalo, fine, then I'll stop it. Tomorrow we'll see one more example with this Docker build, how to customize in a little bit more different approach. Once you see that, then you got to know like all the things that can be done from the Docker image perspective. Then I'll